to be on the YouTubes?
Get that clickbait.
What's up, internet? My name is Izzy, and today we're going to be talking about how this becomes a chicken. If you've been following anything with the status of abortion on the internet, Roe v. Wade being overturned, you know things have gotten a little bit murky. The purpose of this video is for me to just help clarify those murky waters a little bit. At the same time, for those of you who don't just want to be talked at, I'm going to be baking some cookies. If you want to learn how to make a really good peanut butter cookie, this is not the video for you. However, if you want to learn about the biology of conception, I got you. From the moment that egg is fertilized, we begin our biological timer. That's not for no reason. Scientists have confirmed for decades that that is the truth. So when it comes to the conversation about abortion, about conception, about when life starts, things of that nature, I know there is so much controversy. There are so many different perspectives, sources, there's different research popping up, and you probably have a little bit of whiplash with everything the media is saying, everything that's coming out, especially in this post-Roe v. Wade era. If you're like me and you just want to know what's true amidst all of this controversy, then we need to establish what's fact. Do we know for a fact that a fetus is a person? No, we don't, because personhood is subjective. That is theological, it's philosophical, and we as human race have not been able to come to an ultimate conclusion on that. So we can't rest our case on a fetus having personhood. We also can't agree on whether or not a God or a higher power knit together a fetus in a mother's womb. We're not going to rest our case on an argument of a fetus being a person, and we're not going to rest our case on anything theological. What we can rest our case on is the science that has been studied over decades. How much brown sugar do I need? So life, conception, pregnancy, these are not new topics to the scientific community. We've been studying pregnancy, we've been studying conception. We have molecular biologists who have dedicated their entire lives researching this topic. We can be pretty confident in the findings of these studies. We can rest our case on the science behind conception. Let's look to the science. Let's see what these researchers and what these scientists have to say about this now socio-political topic that has everyone confused. So what do we know about conception? We know that when an egg is fertilized, there is male genetic material from the sperm and there's female genetic material from the egg. There's 23 chromosomes from both gametes. These two are combining and they're mixing their genetics. They're forming a completely unique, one-of-a-kind, never to exist before and never to exist again embryo. It's forming a cell that holds genetic material that the world has never seen before. This cell that's formed now that we've mixed mom and dad, those DNAs, we got an embryo. We've got a single cell in that fallopian tube. Very different than other cells on our bodies. Yes, it has human genetics, same as a skin cell, but here's the difference. You put a skin cell in the uterus, nothing's gonna happen. It doesn't have the capacity to grow and develop and become a whole human the way an embryo does. This single cell rapidly multiplying, it's creating more cells from itself. But it's not like a cancer cell, like some people claim, because this cell holds genetic information completely different than the mother. It is completely unique and brand new organism. So these cells are growing into a new being. It's not harming the mother. It's not parasitic. It's gonna continue to divide. Eventually, it's gonna make its little way down from that fallopian tube into the uterus. By the 3rd week from conception, the central nervous system is already beginning to form. There's what's called a neural groove. This neural groove is what eventually forms into the brain, into the spine, and that foundation, it's laid. By the 4th week, the heart is pumping blood. There's a little baby tiny heart. In that same 4th week, there's little limb buds forming. Little tiny Powerpuff Girl arms are starting to form out of this C-shaped embryo. The central nervous system is already formed, and that's only 1 month into this. Once we have those little limb buds formed, soon after, we're gonna have what looks like little mitten hands developing. And by the end of the 8th week, these mitten hands are gonna start separating and actually developing into fingers. In the 9th week is when we start to see the embryo take on a more human-like appearance. There was actually a photo going around the interwebs of a 9-week-old fetus that just looked like a bunch of tissue torn up in a petri dish. I just would like to inform you that that's not true. Biologists would in fact disagree. Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C. Despite popular belief, not everything on the internet is true. At 12 weeks, a fetus has eyelids, it has skin, and by the 16th week, we actually have bones that are visible from the ultrasound. Nice. By week 28, the hair begins to grow, the eyelashes, the eyebrows, those begin to form, and the baby's eyes actually open. And once we hit about 38 weeks, the baby, she's fully developed. I know people have formed different opinions on which stage in this whole development cycle it's acceptable to have an abortion, to terminate the pregnancy. And I'm not going to tell you what to think, but I do really strongly encourage you to look at the research. Figure out for yourself, not just what we're hearing from radical people on either side of the argument. Really dig in, search where the truth can be found. Ultimately, when it comes to the topic of abortion, of terminating pregnancy, we know that there are varying perspectives on when it's ethical to terminate the pregnancy at any stage in this developmental cycle. You have to establish for yourself truly at what stage do you believe it is ethical to end this pregnancy. Is it before the baby's heart begins to beat? Is it before they have bones and fingers and skin and eyelids? What is the determining factor for you for what is considered a human life and what is not? Everything I've shared with you has been biologically supported by researchers. It still doesn't answer the question of not ready to be a parent. At what stage is it too late to end this pregnancy? I just want to challenge you with the question of when does life start? That's up to you to really dig in and figure out for yourself when you believe life starts, because it's not ethical to kill a human being. So at what point does this baby become a human being? At what point does this embryo, this singular cell, become a human being? Is it when it takes on a completely unique genetic code that's never existed before? Or does it become a human once it's exited the womb? So I want to challenge you with a scenario. If someone were to be pregnant and they weren't ready to be a parent, they were too young, they didn't have the resources, and they didn't know how to step into this new role, but maybe they wanted to be a parent later on and they could just try again later. I do want to challenge you with what we know about the facts and the science of conception, because we know that the genetic material that's in you, whether it be 2 weeks into pregnancy or 16 weeks, it doesn't matter, because there's no redoing that specific genetic coding. I will challenge you to really consider that. Food for thought. Cookies are done. I really hope that everything I talked about helped to just give you a better perspective on this whole topic. I know it's complex and I know it's emotionally charged and I know everyone has a different story. I just hope that my heart really comes through, not to shame people, not to condemn people, but to truly just share what it is that we know as absolute truth. We all just want to know the truth. I hope that this video really gave you a good idea of what's really going on. I hope that you're able to take this and begin asking yourself hard questions and formulating your own opinion on where you sit on this whole pro-choice, pro-life argument. Check your sources, know where to look, and when in doubt, look at information from both sides. We have people agreeing on very little these days, but if we can all agree on the science, on the biology, and on the research, I'd say that's a pretty dang good place to start. Feel free to share this information with your friends, start having those hard conversations, but yeah, thanks for watching. See you again soon.